Good morning, everyone. So today's video is all about agentic workflows. We will be getting into some fundamentals, how our workflows actually structured, how does it fit into the agentic AI ecosystem. So fundamentally, we will get into some basics, and we will see there are a lot of kind of workflows, right? You must have heard about linear workflows. There are even non-linear workflows, but there is also a combination of linear and non-linear as well. So we would be getting into some basics, understanding where do they fit into the agentic AI ecosystem. Let's deep dive in shortly. I will go ahead and share my screen. So let's get into some basics, like what are workflows? Where do they actually fit into ecosystem? Now, definition-wise, if we go, it's definitely a structured sequential task, right? It could be anything. Even when a customer raises a ticket, right, in an enterprise, the IT team looks into it, see what is the query which has been asked. Then they would be looking into how it can be resolved. What is the teams who would be involved. So it's kind of a sequential task, and you could see it everywhere. Even when you go and book tickets from Skyscanner, right? You search your source city and your destination city. You do your login. Then you try to find what is the most cheapest ticket from your source destination to your target destination. So that's again a workflow. Then you go ahead and choose your flight. You do the billing. That's how your tickets gets printed and emailed to your email ID. So it's a end-to-end workflow. Now, where do these fit into an enterprise, right? It could be anywhere. It could be in customer support when you raise tickets, as I said. Then it could be a sales operations, which means a sales guy has brought a lead. How do you take that lead from a lead generation stage to closure? So you're doing the end-to-end operations, like you take that lead, then you get an RFP, then you respond to you do a bid defense, and then you assign an SOW, the entire ops, right? Typically, just giving an example from lead to closure, it could be something else as well. Again, in finance, right? You might be using some ERPs. It could be Microsoft CRM or in Oracle as well. How do you do an end-to-end invoice processing, right? Your vendor has raised a purchase order. You raise a purchase order for a particular thing. The invoice is generated. Then you send it to your vendor. He approves it. This end-to-end process, even when a new candidate gets onboarded to a system, right? You first try to onboard that candidate, opening his email ID. You would be providing him the IT access, his login ID and credentials for his laptop. Then you would register him to the human capital management system. Then he would be getting access to the finance portal. All that. So understand. I mean, workflows are everywhere in a enterprise ecosystem. And I just give you some few examples, like what is lead management? Like you get a new lead, you qualify it, you assign it to a salesperson, and then you obviously follow up with the end customer that what is the lead all about. It could be anything. It could be a support ticket or even employee onboarding, as I rightly said. So that's how workflows are actually structured. But now let's see what are the type of the workflows here. Now I'm just bringing in the concept of linear and non-linear workflows here. So what could be a linear and a non-linear workflow? Let's try to help this with an example. Let's take example of an IT support troubleshooting, right? Let's suppose a client has raised a particular query. So what you first try to do, you first to try to gather information. What is the question which is the end user is asking? It could be asking, hey, why is my login ID and password not working? So it's basically the diagnostic says that it's mostly a login issue, or it could be something else. What you see in the slide is more of a network diagnostics, right? You check why the network is not working. Why is it the Wi-Fi, or is probably the firewall which is blocking his access? Something else. Now you do a tool use, like you try to understand what is the cause, like you try to monitor the APIs, and then you do a lot of iterations that try to get into the root cause, right? You adjust your approach, and then you probably provide an end-to-end resolution of the problem, which means you say that, hey, this has been solved, or it should be escalated to a different team, or there would be a different team member who would be working on that particular issue. So what we discussed in prior is that workflows definitely fall into this three categories. What you see is that it could be a linear workflow, it could be a non-linear workflow, or it could be a hybrid workflow, which means it's a combination of linear and non-linear. So linear workflows, let's get into some fundamentals of that. Linear workflows are sequential tasks, which means you know after step one, step two happens, and after step two, step three will happen. So they are very predictable. So there's not lot of conditions that, hey, if step three doesn't happen, what happens next? That is not happening in a linear workflow. Typically, you would see the ETL, the extract, transform, load, right? You know exactly what is the source document, where you need to process it, where you need to load it, how will you do the data validation. You know all those steps. Now, what are non-linear workflows? Let's get into some fundamentals of that as well. Non-linear workflows are not sequential, which means, as the name suggests, right, they don't follow a straight line. There would be a lot of ifs and buts, which means there would be a lot of parallel processing. There would be conditional if. Like typically, if you see a flow chart, right? If this does happen, if it's a yes, then there's a no. So there would be a lot of conditional branching. There would be some complex decision making that, hey, if this scenario A happens, this is where it gets redirected to team B. And if team B is not working, it will get redirected to team C. That's a non-linear workflow. And sometimes on hybrid patterns, we might see a combination of both linear and non-linear, where means there would be some process in the steps. Like if a person is asking some query, there it could follow a linear workflow, or it could be getting into some complex decision making. So that's all about workflows and their types. Now let's just do a drill down to what are linear workflows now. Now, as I rightly said, right, the linear workflow, what you see in your screen right now, don't you think it's quite predictable? Which means a customer has asked a query. The query could be anything. Hey, tell me how do I reimburse uh, my my travel from Delhi to Mumbai? So the what is the agent going to look at? It's going to look into the frequently asked questions lookup, and then they will do a transaction check that, hey, this particular candidate has raised a query on in how to get reimbursement, right? And then it will generate a response that, hey, this is the process you need to follow. You need to raise your invoice to the portal, then it will go through different teams of approvals. Or let's suppose he asks that, hey, why is my approval of invoice still pending? Then it could escalate that, oh, it's been more than 3 days. I need to escalate that, right? So if you see in a linear workflow, you know after step A, which is where a customer raises a query, the agent actually knows that what it needs to look into. It needs to look into the frequently asked question. So the step is absolutely predictable. And there could be some performance metrics that, hey, how much time did it took? What is the cost per query? How many tokens were used from the LLMs? What are the daily volumes? It could be like you're getting 10,000 queries per day, or it could be getting 500 queries per day. So here it's more of a very predictable process. And certain use cases, what you see in the extreme right of the slide is what you see in a sequential execution, like structured Q&A, right? You connect any form of your database to a LLM, and business users are asking queries, right? That structured Q&A, you're getting answers for that. That's a completely sequential workflow example. Now, what could be a policy bound actions? What you see the use cases, right? There could be a lot of Q&A around, hey, which policy I should follow? What is the policy of my exit process? What is my process of getting onboarded to a new project? So these are all linear workflows. There could be some high volume tasks as well, as I said before, that it could be a lot of Q&As, like a customer support, right? It's asking you a lot of questions on a day-to-day basis. Hey, when do I get my refund? When is my product getting delivered? All those questions. So linear workflows, as I said, these are quite simple to understand. These are predictable and follow a linear fashion. Now, let's deep dive into what are non-linear workflows. Now, what we discussed before was more of a linear format. Now here, if you see this particular process, right? Now a customer has asked you a question that, why is my order delayed? Now the question to this, if you see this question, this is actually not a very simple question. Like he's not asked that, hey, where is my order right now? Okay. He has asked you, why is my order delayed? So if you take this flow chart here, right, what is the agent going to do? It's going to search to the database, right? It's going to check the order status, and if it finds, right, if you see here, this is a decision making box. Order found, yes, then it will check the shipping status. No, then it will search an alternative. If it found, it will going to ask the ID, or it's not. It's then it's going to see that, okay, if it is a user data found, it will check the shipping status. And if it's the status is delivered, it is going to give an update. If it's not, it's going to check the warehouse inventory. So one thing to see here is that, how is this different from a linear workflow? There is a lot of conditional looping, that yes, if this happens, I need to check the shipping status. I need to verify the address. I need to ask here. I need to track. So there is multi-step decision making when someone has asked, why is my order delayed? Now, as we saw some of the use cases in linear workflows, what would be the use cases for non-linear workflows here? It could be anything, right? If I ask, hey, tell me who are my biggest competitors in this product A, and what additional features are they giving for this product A? So what the agent is going to do? It's not just going to look into the database and give you. It's not a Q&A here. It's going to do a detailed competitive analysis. It's going to go to each and every competitor website, then probably see what kind of products are there. Then it would do a matching, that okay, this product A, which was asked, how does it match with this product B in the competitor website? What all features product A has and what all features product B has, and then it does a detailed analysis. Again, it is going to follow this route, that hey, if I find details, no. If I don't find details, I go to another competitor website. If I go to another competitor website, I would again see what features matches. So there is multi-step decision making. Again, an example is fraud detection, like why a particular transaction is a particular fraudulent transaction, right? It could go to multiple levels of decision making, that okay, what was the transaction amount, where was the source of the transaction, what is the destination of the transaction, does it follow a usual pattern? Like usual pattern is that the customer always sends $1,000. Now suddenly he has done a transaction of $20,000. That is something unusual, right? It's going to go to those multiple loops. What you see here, anything. It could be even content generation. Content generation can be more complex. Like it can be. I'm not asking us, hey, make me a PowerPoint presentation. No, I could ask that, hey, design me a flyer for product A where I want to target this for my next Agentic AI conference in New York. So I want to have that content generation, and I want my agent to probably look into multiple websites and see what kind of content they are generating, and then generate that particular content for me. So where does non-linear workflow fit? Which means it handles a lot of ambiguity, which means it's not doing something which is predictable. There would be dynamic routing. There would be multi-hop reasoning, which means, hey, if this is a yes, if this is no, if it's no, what happens next? And it chooses the best tool for each step. For example, here, right, was the order found? Yes. Then I would check the shipping status. So each step has a decision making. What if this happens? Okay, I will follow that particular path. So that's non-linear workflow. Let's go to another level of discussion that you might be hearing a lot of frameworks today, and there's a lot of confusion as well. Even it was very confusing for me to understand where does LangChain fit, where does LangGraph fit. Then you have Autogen from Microsoft, then you have Google ADK. Where does it typically fit in to an industry use case? And again, let's probably map it to some of the basics what we learned before. So again, linear workflow. Let's start with linear workflows. That you know what linear workflows are right now. They are predictable. They are sequential process, which means you know what happens after step A. There's step B. Then after step B, there's step C. So here you would see a lot of frameworks like LangChain. Then you have Pydantic. Then you have Llama Index. These are fitting in quite well now. And on the extreme right, you would see some typical examples. For example, if you are designing a rack pipeline, it's mostly taking in data from a vector database, which means it converts all your data to embeddings, and it's doing it could do a dense vector search or a sparse vector search, and is generating the responses. That's a typical linear workflow. Then you would probably doing document extraction. You're doing a document summary, or you are doing a document Q&A, or you creating your dedicated knowledge base. Excellent examples of linear workflow. LangChain, Pydantic, Amazon Bedrock does an excellent job here. Anybody who's trying to build customer service assistants, or trying to build a Q&A for their employees for frequently asked questions, or trying to build kind of enterprise chatbot, or enterprise interactive knowledge-based machines where employees can actually type a particular topic and get access to the PowerPoints or PPT pertaining to that topic. Very good examples of linear workflow. Now here, let's get into the second part. Like where does non-linear frameworks actually fit in? LangGraph, that's one of the most best frameworks. Then you have Autogen, then you have Google Agent Development Kit. These are good fitments for non-linear workflows. That's what we saw, right? What if scenarios, like of what happens after step A. These are typically good fit in there, which means LangGraph, for example, it creates nodes, it creates states, it will having edges. You can write a lot of conditional ifs in your particular nodes. You can do custom programming over there. LangGraph is an excellent fitment over there. So we had seen some typical use cases, right? If this happens, you go there, or if this happens, you go there. So multi-step decision making, like if you want to probably design a fraud detection system, or you want to see a banking fraud, or you want to do a next level marketing level research assistant, which tells you what's happening in the market. You want to generate daily news digest coming into your employees, saying, say that, hey, these are our competitors doing, that goes to your product development teams. This is where a non-linear agentic workflows, or multi-agentic, I would call it multi-agentic workflows, because there would be definitely an orchestrator agent who understands what has been actually asked, and then it reroutes to subsequent agent saying that, hey, you need to see what the competitors are doing. The agent A is looking what competitors are doing. Agent B is actually looking into some statistical numbers that, hey, their sales have gone up by X dollars from last month to this month. And there could be an agent three who's looking into the number of customers they have driven. For example, they might have got three new customers last month, and the agent identifies that, hey, this month they have got 5 new customers, which means they have added 2 more customers to their customer database. So this is how the fitment of different agentic frameworks fit in when it comes to linear and non-linear workflows. Well, I will keep this video to this limit today, because we had get into some basics that what are linear workflows, what are non-linear workflows, and how does the agentic frameworks fit into both linear and non-linear workflows. Stay tuned. I hope this video was useful. Please do let me know your comments and feedback for the same. I do appreciate any questions for the same. Till then, over to next time, I will be coming in more videos to agentic workflows, and we will be getting into some more deep dives when it comes to the coding aspect as well. Thank you so much for your time.